when you put together a super conference and this super league that's coming, the homecoming games, if you will, the figurative homecoming games are going to become fewer and far between. And that serves the fans, I think. That I don't know how the Big Ten is going to do this, but the 9 Big Ten games that Michigan, let's say, is playing this year, I've got their schedule for this year. Here are the 9 teams that they're playing in the Big Ten: Maryland, Iowa, Indiana, Penn State, Michigan State, Rutgers, Nebraska, Illinois, and Ohio State. That's who they got. No Wisconsin on the schedule. I guess they can't play them every year. But there you have it. Those are the 9 games. Imagine removing Maryland, with all due respect, or Rutgers, Illinois. Imagine removing either one of those 2 teams and inserting, or 3 of those teams, inserting UCLA, USC, and Oregon. And having to do the same, obviously, similarly for Ohio State, Penn State. Just imagine that happening. That's a difficult schedule, would you say? Yay, nay? Very tough.
Pretty much.
How many more times will somebody tune in nationally in Los Angeles to watch USC, Michigan, UCLA, Michigan, as opposed to any of those fans out there rooting from Champaign-Urbana? Okay?
Champagne.
I'm just throwing it out with all due respect to those teams in the Big Ten. I should have said that in advance. That's what's coming. That's what's coming. And I will say this, too. You know, same thing with the SEC. And the Vanderbilts of the world and those guys, they better start beefing up.
See ya.
Because I'm wondering if they get relegated out. I don't know if that's the other part of this, is that you poach the big teams from the other schools. Is it possible that somebody loses their charter membership to make room?
Well, you got to keep the cupcakes. Got to have the guaranteed wins on the schedule.
Do you?
Kind of.
Okay.
I think.
I imagine you're still going to have out-of-conference games. I mean, Michigan's 3 out-of-conference games this year. Colorado State, Hawaii, and our friend Jim Moore told us, UConn's coming.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, that's it.
But if you have a 50, 60 team, super 2 conferences, what's the need
what's
for
the schedule? I don't know
what do you need out of conference for?
You don't. You do not. That's the live tour aspect of it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Because your champion is coming from one of these teams.
It's right. You don't need any more competition. Nobody's coming in. Nobody's making a cut. Nobody's getting cut. Everybody's in there.
Yeah.
I'm imagining, unless there's some relegation, you're out, and somebody who's out of this super conference gets to play in. I'm sure Prime would raise his hand and say, how about us? How about me down here?
That's interesting.
We should get it. I should get into this Super League too. Don't forget. I mean, this thing is just starting right now. And I feel like, we're just beginning to talk it out and scratch the surface here. Just beginning to talk it out.
That's really interesting.
Because like I said earlier, too, with Bruce Feldman, the TV is going to drive it. Again, could you imagine you're Kevin Warren of the Big Ten, you're the commissioner, right? And you get a call from somebody who's representing UCLA and USC together saying, I got both of these schools. And these conversations that we've kind of been going around the edges the last few weeks and months. Well, we're ready to move now. What about you? And he's sitting here going, I'm negotiating my new television deal. And I can add both schools out west in the number 2 market in the United States, where the Big Ten already has a footprint because we play the Rose Bowl there. Okay. So it's not totally out of whack. And I get to call up the school presidents and chancellors and say, what do you think of adding those 2 schools, academically? What do you think about the film school at USC now being a Big Ten thing? What do you think about that? What do you think about making Los Angeles a Big Ten country? What do you think about that? And then apparently he had to assuage some of the schools like Rutgers and Maryland saying, hey, man, we'll figure out how to get your teams all the way across the country and vice versa. They must have been like, hell yeah. Hell yeah. And if I'm the Big Ten representing it, the next phone calls I make are to Cal and Stanford. You want to come too? Because those academic institutions, you want to make Stanford a Big Ten school and Cal Berkeley a Big Ten school? That fits. That fits because Stanford and Cal Berkeley, in a way, kind of split the title of being the Michigan of the West Coast. Oh, this is going to be just so great. You caught that one.
I mean, like I said last week, I went to Michigan.
I'm just saying there are so many possibilities because the SEC is not going to. I mean, the fact that the Big Ten has now got a West Coast footprint. Is the SEC going to now say to Oregon and Washington, how'd you like to come down to Mississippi State and play games?
Yep.
Might be a better fit for the Big Ten, though.